The Russian forces are making a push to capture key Ukrainian towns in Donbas ahead of Donald Trump's return to the White House. Fierce fighting has been taking place on the battlefield, with both sides stepping up the offensive. Russian forces have reportedly taken control of 2 settlements in the past day. It also claims to have carried out strikes on Ukrainian ammunition depots, electronic warfare base stations, artillery and other targets. Russian air defense forces claiming to have intercepted American-made ATACMS, British-made Storm Shadow missiles, HIMARS rockets, hundreds of drones. On the same day, in fact, the General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces reported that as of Tuesday, its forces had engaged in dozens of fights with Russians in the frontline areas. The most intense fighting is set to be taking place in Pokrovsk, a key Ukrainian stronghold. Pokrovsk is located in Donetsk, and the Russians have their eyes on it. For months, Russian troops have tried to encircle Pokrovsk. It's also the latest Ukrainian city caught in the death grip of Russian forces. Now, according to war monitors, the Russians are planning to cut off land supply routes to Pokrovsk to force Ukrainian troops to retreat. You see, Russian advances in Pokrovsk will significantly worsen the situation for Ukrainian forces. It will complicate logistics and hinder the ability of Ukrainian forces to resupply and redeploy troops. The capture of Pokrovsk would enable Russian forces to advance towards the administrative border between Donetsk and Dnipropetrovsk. More importantly, the loss of Pokrovsk would open the doors to one of Russia's main war goals, that is the capture of the Donbas region, and the rate at which Russia has made territorial gains in Donetsk, despite a surge in Western military aid for Ukraine, raises concerns about a potential Russian breakthrough. As far as Ukraine is concerned, they are putting up a strong fight. On Tuesday, Ukraine's military has claimed its largest air attacks yet on Russian territory since the start of the war nearly 3 years ago. It launched a large-scale missile and drone attack overnight. While the Russian military said most of Ukraine's projectiles were shot down, the Russian cities of Saratov and Engels were reportedly hit with some damage caused to factories in the area. Ukraine attacked the same region last week as well. They struck an oil depot which served as an airbase for Russian bomber planes. Outgunned and outnumbered despite Western help, Ukraine is trying to disrupt Russian command and control in order to slow down Russian assaults. However, without more troops and military aid, the Ukrainian military will not be able to hold on for too long. Next week, the US will have a new administration, which means that there will be a reinvigorated push for peace negotiations between Russia and Ukraine. Remember, Trump has vowed to end the Ukraine war, and with that in mind, it appears that the Russians are trying to capture as much territory as possible, especially in the Donbas region. Control over the territory, after all, will be a great leverage for Russia in potential negotiations. Shifting focus for now, Russia has called for the expansion of Quad on Afghanistan to include India. The Afghan Quad currently includes China, Pakistan, Iran and Russia. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, in fact, says that it is important to strengthen trust within the SCO, within the format that is currently working on Afghanistan. Lavrov said Russia is confident that the inclusion of India would be the right step. He also said that in the new format, India, Pakistan and China would have an opportunity to communicate and better understand each other's differences.
What is more important is to strengthen and build confidence inside SCO and within the Afghan format, the current Afghan format, Russia, China, Pakistan and Iran. We are certain that engaging India would be the right thing to do.
The current Afghan Quad last met in November 2024 on the sidelines of the UNGA. Iranian Foreign Minister, the Chinese Foreign Minister, the Pakistani Defense Minister, and Lavrov were present at the meeting. The meeting called for the support of Afghanistan's national sovereignty, political independence, unity, and territorial integrity. Terrorism was another key issue that was discussed, with the joint statement expressing concern over the security situation related to terrorism in Afghanistan. Earlier, SCO had an Afghan contact group which had all members, including India, but the group became defunct since Taliban assumed power in 2021. The comments by Lavrov are significant as they come at a time when New Delhi has upped its engagement with the Taliban government in Kabul. Earlier this month, the Indian Foreign Secretary, Vikram Misri, and Acting Foreign Minister of Afghanistan had met in Dubai. India also opened its technical office in Kabul in 2022 and has since then engaged with the Taliban government in Kabul despite not recognizing it. NATO has launched a new mission in the Baltic Sea to protect undersea cables. On Tuesday, NATO launched its patrol and surveillance operation called Baltic Sentry. The NATO Secretary General has said that the operation will include frigates, maritime patrol aircraft, submarine satellites, remotely operated vehicles, and a small fleet of naval drones. Before we tell you more, let's just play out for you what he said.
Today, I can announce that NATO is launching Baltic Sentry. Under the authority of NATO's Supreme Allied Commander, General Kishkavoli, this military activity is part of our ongoing effort to enhance maritime presence and monitoring of key areas for our alliance. It will involve a range of assets, including frigates and maritime patrol aircraft, among others, and will enhance our vigilance in the Baltic.
The military alliance says that the aim is to protect critical infrastructure in the Baltic Sea region bordering Russia. You see, after several breaches to undersea cables, European authorities are on high alert. Baltic Sentry will basically boost NATO's presence in a region already on edge. Leaders of Baltic countries, along with the NATO chief and other European officials, met in Helsinki on Tuesday to agree on ways to boost security. In late December, Finland seized an oil tanker linked to the damage of a power cable connecting Finland to Estonia. The same incident also, by the way, involved damage to several telecom cables, deepening fears of potential sabotage. Amid a series of mysterious undersea disruptions, NATO officials have pointed fingers at Russia, accusing Moscow of a coordinated campaign against NATO. They say that Russia is carrying out these attacks because of the NATO's continued military support for Ukraine and stringent sanctions against Moscow. What does Russia have to say to all of this? Moscow has already denied involvement in any such plot. Moscow has called NATO's accusations absurd, quote unquote. In last month's incident, Finland did not directly blame Moscow for the damage, but European authorities have said that they suspect the tanker that was seized is part of Russia's so-called shadow fleet, a group of ships carrying Russian oil products that are under Western embargo. European authorities say that Russian ships have caused the damage by dragging its anchor across the seabed. As far as Finnish authorities are concerned, they said they believe the captured vessel would have caused more damage if the police had not boarded it when they did. And they have also banned some of the crew from traveling. A few weeks earlier, in November, an underwater communications cable connecting Finland and Germany was also cut. At that time, Germany had described it as suspected sabotage. Damage was reported to a separate internet cable linking Lithuania and Sweden. Remember, leaders of Baltic countries, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, have been very vocal about their fears about Russia. Baltic states basically worry that they will be the next target of the Kremlin and the very bombs and missiles used to level Ukrainian cities. While NATO leaders have increasingly warned of a Russia-linked sabotage campaign, recently European leaders have been hesitant on what their response should be. It's because they fear further escalating tensions with Russia. But officials in Baltic states bordering Russia have pressed for greater action. And now that they have launched mission Baltic Sentry. They have warned Europe to brace for more sabotage attempts in the future, with the Finnish president saying, quote unquote, get used to the new normal.
We're only a couple of hours into the information that we got, so I think it's too early to say, but I guess the conclusion that we can draw is that get used to the new normal. These kinds of things will happen in the future as well. And the good news here, of course, is that when it happened a year ago, the ship left the Baltic Sea. When it happened a month and a half ago, we were able to board but not to confiscate. When it happened 2 weeks ago, we confiscated. So we live and learn.